Hi, everyone. Delfino Aguilar here, your host of Del Talk and the SVP of Wholesale Production here at Kind Lending. I am really excited. I am proud to have this guest on with us today. She is a very well-known person in the mortgage industry, a best-selling author, an awesome coach, part of the Empower community, the MBA. She's also the president and visionary behind 2020 Vision for Success Coaching. Christine Beckwith, welcome to Del Talk. How are you today?
Yay, it's so great to be here. Thank you for having me. It's really my honor. I love Kind Lending.
Thank you. Thank you. We were talking earlier about, all the great things that you guys have to offer. Tell us a little bit about how this started and your vision behind it. I mean, you're a mortgage executive. People ask you to talk all the time at summits, et cetera, et cetera. You have a great background. Share a little bit about your background and what led to 2020 Vision for Success Coaching.
Yeah. So in 2006, I was between two big jobs that would each one lasting about 12 years.
Yep.
I found myself closing down as the Senior Vice President of Sales, H&R Block Mortgage, which had about 900 originators and 210 branch managers, 14 district managers that reported up to me. I had been there. I had worked from an area manager in Massachusetts to that level. We closed it because of the mortgage implosion. I had a summer off in the middle of that, and then joining Joe Penabianco to begin Village Home Mortgage, which would later become Annie Mac Home Mortgage, as his national director of sales for the next 12 years. And so during that summer on the beach, I rented a lake house at home where I grew up in Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire. I had a small baby that was born that February, who's now going to be 16 next February. And I just sat on the beach that summer. I reflected on what I had done the prior 12 years. I wrote my book, Wise Eyes, that's now out there. And I envisioned I had time, which we all, our creative minds only seem to work when we get that pause, right? And I was in that space. And so in short, to answer you, that summer, I started to think about who I was, and in writing, I, was sharing my story. And I thought, I'm really a coach. Like, I'm really a teacher. I really love that part. And I just thought one day, I'm going to go into consulting on a full-time basis. I did not know what it looked like, but I will tell you, I bought the domain in 2006. For my website that is still live today. And I held that domain with that website not being public for 10 years. And it's visionyoursuccess.net. And so it's pretty cool, right? That it wouldn't come to life for so long.
It is. Yeah, it is. And that's an interesting story. It's funny because we were talking earlier about, being disconnected while we're on vacation, and how that's when you start thinking about different ways to help your business and your mind, all this kind of thing. So that's interesting how this came about. You talk a lot about, you mentioned you're part of a big sales organization. You led that group. Part of what you guys offer sales coaching, classes, workshops, company consulting is part of it too, right?
Yeah.
How important is the correlation between personal and professional success, right?
I'm so glad.
You're right. It's a correlation between those two, a really big one. And you've seen it all.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're asking me that. I didn't mean to interrupt. So glad, because it's like the best kept secret that we're finally starting to focus on in our marketing. So our 2020 vision envisioned itself in being a holistic consulting firm, in that a few outliers here. And that is that we have like grief and loss counselors, health and wellness counselors. We do very unique webinars that, speak to mindset and things like that. Obviously, the core of our business coaching is tied to financial forensics, our ability, I have on-staff accountants. And so our ability to, look at people's, how they've structured, companies have structured their comp packages, tied to obviously laws and regulations and all those things, compliance. We understand all of that. We understand the compliance law for the mortgage industry. And so we're able to kind of look, we can be any of these things. I think my approach is, I know my approach is that we are humans running our business. And I believe that unless we as humans have a lot of things right personally. And I'm not talking about getting, into people's personal lives. I'm talking about the mind, body, soul type of feeling. If you're, on the right path, you're making deposits daily into your health, mentally, and you're able to understand that, when you look at grade schoolers, kindergartners, what are the things that they start to develop for the brain? Well, it's writing and reading. And so you wouldn't be surprised when you're here. We have enormous reading libraries that are downloadable, that are being filled by like a human being that does electronic librarian work. And so just like, in Amazon, when you get Amazon Prime, they're like, hey, you get these free movies and you can, have these digital books. Well, 2020 is the same way. We have a library that's being fed to our subscribers. The amount of content alone that we put out, and I think people from a distance think, oh, they're a marketing company too. We're not. We're marketing consultants, and we have vehicles of media, but we are of the belief that we need to set the example for the American professional on how to run their businesses. And so if you drive your car into 2020, you can get all these outlier things. You can get all these supports. But you obviously are coming to a true blue business school where you're going to work on your business. And I'm so proud of that part, because I think what makes people really frustrated in life often is that we don't recognize, this person lost their parent this year. And while they're running this big branch with 30 employees, they're completely derailed this year because of the grief of the loss of their parent. And so we will help you with your business. That guy is here to get his business consulted. However, if he has to go speak with a counselor on the grief and loss, we have that resource. And it's, it's not shoved down anybody's throats. It's really like a buffet of professional development. And so I think we are unique. We teach a class called Niche Nitrous, which talks about strategic marketing in the very beginning of their core classes. And so you're not going to be surprised that this very question is hitting upon our belief that we also have to be a niche in the consulting arena.
Yeah. Christine, thank you for sharing some of that insight. You guys have a quote on your website that I want to kind of talk a little bit about. Okay. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read it so I get it right. Your website, by the way, is awesome. We're going to talk about that. But
thank you.
Emotion is the driving force behind all human intellect, accomplishments, and success. If you cannot feel where you are going, you cannot see it either. Right? Very impactful. It's part of your guys' philosophy, actually. Share a little bit about that, because we talked a little bit about mindset. Everything running together well in your life. Talk about that quote, because I have a backup question to that. What does that mean to you guys at 2020 Vision for Success Coaching?
Yeah, you are a great interviewer. I'm going to start there. I go on a lot of podcasts. I don't mind saying this out loud, because you are hitting on the central nervous system of my entire cultural mindset of the organization. So this is really, really great questions. I appreciate them.
Thank you.
That quote, I wrote that, and I'm going to tell you, it took me like 6 months to write it. I was asked by the web designer to put a philosophy on the website when it started. So this, again, goes all the way back to when I started building this website in 2006. And I had discovered down this path of self-discovery there in my lifetime as a professional that I drove from this very emotional place, that I had recognized in myself that I was an emotional being. And I can say that today with zero guilt. So I want everybody listening to take note of this. That doesn't mean when I say I'm an emotional being that I'm sitting around crying. We have to remove ourselves from the idea that emotion is a bad thing. And I think, unfortunately, big businesses want to strip people down or have, over decades, at least through the years, I'm obviously old, but through the years that I was coming up, there's no place in the workplace for emotion, and emotion was used as a bad word. And what ended up happening is we created this army of people that stuffed their feelings and stuffed happiness and excitement and joy and, motivation. And we didn't talk about our emotions. And then we had all these problems and whatnot. I knew in my heart innately, when I would take over a sales team, and I learned this as my teams got bigger, the very first time I took over a team of 125 people, They were in last place in a national company that had 14 major markets. They had the second highest average loan balance in the country. They were in the northeast of the U.S. So they were coming up to the plate and swinging with a wiffle bat. They should have been knocking balls out of the park, but they lacked morale, a vision, a plan, and some fundamental things. I actually sat down and interviewed all 125 people. And so I'll just say this, not to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
What I did with that group is I ignited their emotional awareness and tied it to a business plan. We came up with a theme called Moving On Up. I would move that team, and I'm not saying this to brag, but just factually speaking, that team went from last place in the company to first place in 16 months. And to move 125 people to go from bad to good and then compete, because it's easy to get average. It is hard to get excellent. And so, these guys were already working hard. I was determined for them not to be working a ton of overtime in the process and more like learning along the path about, really creating catapulting results in an efficient workday. And we did that. We accomplished that. And along the way, people evolved, they grew, but they drove from this place emotionally. We had created the ESPN backstory. When you were just talking about your son being in baseball, I have a son that went through baseball as well. And, what did I do for him? Well, I turned on ESPN when baseball season was on, and we sat and listened to all the backstories. I mean, we're in the great city of Boston, by the way. So the story there. But learning people's stories, learning what people are driven by, that is where we're going to help them reach and dig the hardest. So anyways, I became liberated writing that. And today, 2020 stands for that. What is your driving emotion that's going to lead you to success?
That's awesome. I'm having trouble articulating right now, to be honest with you, how impactful that statement is. And for me and for the industry too, if you really take a step back, you're right. Big organizations, it's not right or wrong. It's just how it was, right?
Correct.
You can't really share those emotions. You can't. Now the world is evolving, it's changing. That's how we all become better, by expressing ourselves and learning from each other, quite frankly.
Right.
Part of this is transitioning a little bit into having habits, because as you said, over 16 months, you took that team from last to first, so you catapulted, as you mentioned, a lot of different things, a lot of processes, whatever you guys were doing. I'm sure part of that was having habits, daily habits that the team would execute on a daily, monthly, weekly, monthly basis. Talk a little bit about habits and how important they are for successful people and executives specifically in the mortgage industry, right? I mean, for sure, everyone has a personal habit that they do every morning. I'm a big morning routine, Christine. Everybody knows that I wake up at 4 a.m. no matter what. I'm on the Peloton that's right here, right next to me. Unfortunately, I'm a big taco fan, so I got to work on the Peloton a little bit more, right? But talk a little bit about habits and how important that is for successful people, salespeople, and people in our industry.
Yeah. Well, first of all, good for you, because what you're doing, we've studied the morning habits from a Dr. Barbara L. Fredericks from the Northern University of Carolina, and what you do to make deposits into this cup that we need to fill every day that helps set the stage for a positive day. And you're already doing that when you have morning habits. When it comes to time, I always start with daily habits from a place. So it's not going to surprise you that we have curriculum around this, much curriculum around this. I've written about this in my book, Wise Eyes, which was the first book that I released. I share my blueprint for success. Those words seem to be used a lot today, but for us, it's extremely meaningful. We've built billion-dollar companies. In fact, building 2020 off the blueprint for success, and all the professionals with us are using it. And inside there, one of the 9 key components of your blueprint for success is your daily activities and habits. I'm also certified in priority management, and I certify all the individuals that come here through curriculum that's in our virtual dashboard. So everybody that comes here gets time managed certified, just right out of the gates within the first 30 to 45 days, because it's so important. So I say this, nobody has more time than anybody else. all the people that are billionaires in the world aren't working on a 36-hour day opposed to our 24 hours. Like we all have the same amount, and it's always going to be that way. So it is not about more is more. Better is more. So how do you make your day better so that your output is more? How do you become that person? And so, I feel that when you're first starting your business, how you spend your time is going to be relative to where you are in your business plan, obviously. If you need to work on organic lead creation and sales, and you're building your sales funnels, and you're just really production minded because right now you don't have a business until there's sales, then you're building all of those things and you're spending a concentrated amount of time on that. But that shifts, and everybody knows, we have more people here that are veterans than newbies, even though we have hundreds of new originators that do coach with us. We have thousands of productive professionals that are here coaching with us. And those productive professionals have a much bigger problem. They have massive pipelines, staffs, budgets, and they have milestones and deadlines and service to deliver at a high level. And to hit all those marks is a trick, and then not give up your life doing it in this industry. Right. And so I will just tell you, it comes down to compartmentalization. I'm not going to give it all away, but I'm going to give you a couple of quick, short tips. Number one, sales guys will accelerate production if that's your problem, if you need to do more sales, by compartmentalizing it into what we call prospecting buckets. So we suggest 4-hour sales buckets a week. And if you can strap 4 hours together to do it in a full 4-hour bucket, we suggest it. You can break that into 2 and 2, meaning that if I'm going to do sales Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I am going to have the ability to obviously, do sales. I'm going to tell you, I have had so many people challenge me at the start of this education where they say, that's nothing. Like I'm doing, $40 million a year as an originator. I do way more than 16 hours. And I always say, measure how much time you actually spend selling, because what happens is we kind of set it and forget it when our databases start working and our CRM start working and the business comes. And I don't assume that you want to scale your business if you're really highly productive. Your vision for success is defined in the first 3 days that you come to 2020, because we have you fill out a blueprint. Those are reviewed by executive consultants, and you tell us what you're after. We have many people that don't want more money or production. They want better time management. They want to become the CEOs of their companies. They're stuck in the trenches. Their marriages are falling apart. Their health is waning, and they just have never been taught real business tactics. So the same thing is, finally, I'll end by saying the same thing is true for communication. I could sit all day long. I'm a great example with 100,000 followers, thousands of clients, a huge staff, 46 people on my staff now. I could just sit in front of my email, and it would literally be like shoveling in a snowstorm all day, every day. And I don't think I'll ever, I don't think I would ever get ahead. But what I do is I time block to clear my email in 3 pockets. I suggest that other people do the same. When I'm here, I'm present. You have me 100%. And it might surprise you that I spend 6 to 7 hours a day in meetings and in consulting and other things. I'm not looking at my email during that time. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not trying to do 3 things at once. I'm 1000% present, because that's how you're going to get the greatest bit of me. And when it's time for me to shift back over to the highway of communication that I live in, I dedicate a number of hours to that. And when I'm doing that, I'm only doing that. I'm not letting phone calls take me away from it. If it's time for my call hour, I'm doing phone calls, and I'm not letting text and email take me away from my phone calls. I'm going through my phone call list. And so when we become really focused on doing like tasks, we compartmentalize our days, and we stop trying to be the one-man band, that picture in your mind that you could picture where you're drumming with your foot and you're playing the guitar with your hand and you have a harmonica in your mouth. That is, nobody's getting the best of anything when you're doing that. And anyways, we call ourselves the Sales Acceleration Solution Series. And it took me a really long time to figure these things out. I've helped a lot of people figure it out to great results. And so that's what I'll share with you today. I hope that's helpful.
So Christine, the program you guys have is awesome. A lot of great benefits. And, as if somebody approaches you and says, Christine, we want to be part of the program, but I find that time is a challenge for me. How much time does this require? What do you say to those people? Are they candidates for your program? Where do you sit with that?
Yeah. So my first tough answer is I never want anyone to come here that isn't prepared to give a full commitment. And I really am wary of the people that say, I don't have enough time. I'm going to tell you, I have an ear for, and language and leadership language that I'm listening to, and people that are telling you, and it's, you should believe what they're telling you. If they tell you they don't have enough time for something, they're telling you a lot more than I don't have enough time. They're telling I'm not organized. That's what I hear when I hear I don't have enough time. I hear I'm not efficient when they say I don't have enough time. And I just am looking at an individual. Because of course, I don't say yes to everything. In fact, I teach say no to more things. I pick and choose what I can do and what I let into my schedule. I would say you probably need help more than anyone else if you don't have enough time to better your business or better the way that your business is run. And so I'll sit down with an individual in any exploratory situation about their business and kind of through a few questions, get to the root of whether somebody really feels they need to improve. I don't think you're asking me about people that coach versus people that don't coach. That mindset, which is what I'm leaning towards in this answer. I think you're saying, how do you get through to the person that doesn't think they have enough time to improve on their time management? And that's funny. It's really funny. Like, I don't want to come to your time management class because I don't have time. Well, guess what? You need to be there more than anybody needs to be there. Right.
Front row seat. So, I'm a big, this is great. So thank you so much. This has been by far one of my favorite podcast interviews. A lot of great stuff. Christine, thank you so much. There's a lot of ways for people to contact you. I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Such great content. I'm forever grateful. I want to end it with, you guys we talked about your website. It's a great website, by the way, visionyoursuccess.net. You have a great quote on there. That's a follow-up to one of your YouTube quick 1.5-minute videos that you have on there. And I think it's important to end with this. I'm going to read it to make sure I get it right. So, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. So
you got to keep it moving.
You got to keep it moving in every aspects of your life to be that professional you want to be. So we'll end it there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, Christine. I know you're super busy, but it's a pleasure to meet you face to face. I know we chatted on the phone. So thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And do you want me to share how people could follow us? I love to put that out there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do that.
Okay, great. So we have like 4 different areas that people could show up and get free, really valuable content for their businesses. And we just love to share that. Obviously we're on all the major social medias, but we have 2 big Facebook groups, 2020 Vision for Success Coaching and Women with Vision. Really proud of both divisions. And then we have 2 magazines, thevisionmag.com and wwvmag.com, and both are free. All that's free. And I just want to thank everybody that listened today. Thank Kind Lending. Shout out to Susie Lindblom, who has been coaching with us for years, who is a powerhouse, who I love and adore. To Glenn Stearns for creating an incredible culture with Kind Lending. And thank you to the audience, to all of you listening that follow 2020 that support us. I mean, we have had an incredible support from the mortgage industry in the first 3 years of our firm. You're helping us tell our story. You're part of our story. And we are grateful for all of you. So thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much. We're grateful for you as well. So if you want to learn more about Christine, like she mentioned, there's a lot of outlets to get a hold of her. I know you're active on LinkedIn as well. So we hope everybody can follow us there. If you want to learn more about Kind Lending, please visit us at kindlending.com to learn more information. Thanks a lot, Christine. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.
Bye.